Happy Migraine Awareness Month, everyone. I hope you are enjoying everything that we have brought you so far. The drug that is on the lips of most people's tongues at the moment is Emgality. At the time of recording this session, Emgality was not listed on the PBS, but it is the closest to be listed on the PBS, and it is, as Aimovig and Ajovy, a very successful drug for a number of people. Here to help me talk about it is Loal and Kelli. Thanks for joining me. All right, let's start with you, Loal. Where are you from? What's your migraine like?
UK born, had migraines on and off from the age of 15, but wasn't aware that they were migraines, and I think it's hereditary. Both my parents had very bad, what we call headaches, when they were younger, in their 20s. My mother and father met during the war, after the war in Germany. My mother asked if she could have all her teeth pulled out because she had shocking neuralgia. And the dentist in London refused and said, there's nothing wrong with your teeth. So when she went to Germany, she paid a dentist to pull them all out and still had toothache. Then realised it wasn't the teeth. My father, I can see him running his head along the side of the wall in his 30s and 40s, shocking headaches. But they just used to call them bad heads. And I think they wore off as they got to their 60s and 70s. But I think out of the 3 children I inherited from both of them, I wasn't diagnosed as classic migraine until I was about 50. And then they became a daily event, constant. And it's only in the last 18.
Sorry, I was just going to say that classic migraine is migraine with aura, for those not familiar with the terminology.
Yes.
Do go on.
So I've had all the gamut of treatment. I've had the Botox, the acupuncture, every drug under the market, all the triptans. I've tried them all over the years. And the legal and illegal ones as such, the ones that are not on the market anymore, and the dangerous ones. And they worked for a while and then didn't. And it made my life a misery up until about 18 months, 2 years ago. And my neurologist in Sydney said, there's something new on the market now, these new drugs. We'll see the injections if they work for you. And I had 3 months of each, because there were 3 on the market then. I had the 3 free trials and they all worked. So I went from one to the other until the first one pulled out. And then I was just left with Emgality. And I'm still on that and paying through the nose for it, but I'm happy to pay because I have my life back.
And we'll talk about that.
First time ever since I was 15. It's amazing.
It is really amazing. Kelli, you've had a similarly good response. Tell us, I mean, everybody knows who Kelli is. Kelli's our head mod in our Facebook group. But tell us about your migraine, Kelli.
Yeah, so I got migraine when I was a teenager. And it was probably always classic migraine as well, although I didn't really realise I got aura because I'm lucky and I don't get that light sensitivity. So sort of had that. And then since I had my daughter 6 years ago, it's been progressively getting worse and worse till I pretty much insisted I get put on Emgality after trying a few things I hadn't already tried with a neurologist. So I had probably tried nearly everything that was on the market as well over the years. A lot of things I tried as they were first introduced. I can't even remember everything I've tried. I had tried that many things. So in consultation with my GP, I got put on the EMBA program for Emgality, and it's been remarkable. I don't think I even realized how many migraine days a month I had until I started taking the Emgality, and yeah, amazing. It's made a huge difference. I mean, I still get migraines because I get hormonal migraines as well, but or migraine attacks, but they're not as bad as they have been previously. So
sorry, I'm joking because it's a bit of an in-joke about Migraine Australia about changing the migraine language. It's really, really hard for those of us who have been talking about our migraines for 20 and 30 years to switch to talking about migraine attacks. And I'm I giggle, but I'm actually really proud every time you guys stop and correct yourself. Kelly, tell us, how did you find out about Emgality? Was it through Migraine Australia, or was it from your doctors?
No, I found out about Emgality through Migraine Australia, but I was already aware of Amavog. I'd been given information from my mother that she got from her friend who was on the trial, the PFP, the Amavog. So I was aware of it.
Yeah, no worries. And what about you, Loal? Did you find out about it from your doctor or from?
Yes, I'd been under the neurologist for a few years, and he was switching one drug to another, and he said, oh, I really don't know what to do, and we'll try this and try that. And then he said, oh, good news, something new out. We'll give it a whirl. We'll see if we can get you a free trial. So that came up. So that was good.
You tried all three. Why did you stay with Emgality?
Emgality was the last one that came on the market. The first one, I can't remember if it was Aimovig. I can't remember
Aimovig and then Emgality.
They pulled out of the deal with the government, didn't they? They weren't going to come to the party, so that was why I think they were dropped. I can't remember the second one.
Ajovy is the other one.
Which one was it?
It's called Ajovy.
Yes, that's right. And then my neurologist said, oh, well, if you've had 2 free trials, we'll go for the third one to maximise the free trials. And then he said to me, well, you might as well stay. If they're all had the same results with you, it doesn't make any difference. Why not stay with the last one? They're going to play ball with the government and try and do the right thing with the PBS. So he said, stay with them. And I did.
So what was your kind of migraine day count like before, and what is it on Emgality? So what were you like before any of the CGRPs?
Every day.
Every day. So from 30 down to how many migraine days are you having on Emgality?
None.
But
I have a conjunction with a lot of other things. So I'm on Zonigram, which is an epileptic drug, which gives you very, very vivid dreams. And he's asked me not to come off that because he thinks it does help. I'm on magnesium twice a day. And if today I had what I call my head started, because I had the COVID injection 3 days ago and it upset the apple cart really badly. And I had my first migraine on Tuesday, Wednesday for 2 days that I haven't had in 12 months.
Hopefully that is short-lived.
Yes, I think so. They did warn me it might happen. And I found an old Maxil in the fridge. I took that in the early hours of the morning and it didn't work, but it may be because it was old. And I took 6 ibuprofen and it still didn't work. So I just had to wait it out for 2 days. But that's the only time in 12 months I've had a migraine since being on Emgality.
Have you had any side effects?
From the Emgality?
Or is it difficult to tell with a lot of drugs in your system?
I don't think so. I had a lot of side effects with all the other drugs, which was a worry. My GP and my neurologist was worried that I would have vascular dementia if I kept on taking so many drugs over a period of time, because having taken drugs from my 20s and I'm now 70, what damage has that done? And I've had tests down the side here just to see if there's any plaque, and there isn't, but they do worry. And I know I'm getting older, so I do forget things. And that plays on your mind because you think, is that all these drugs I keep taking, the triptans and goodness knows what else? He wants me off the drugs, the triptans, before I was 70. And we seem to have achieved it with the drug, with the injections. I've worked in the medical field all my life, and nursing friends are saying to me, oh, you're reading too much into it. Everybody forgets everything sometimes. And they say, if you can't remember somebody's name, you remember half an hour later. And I say, yeah, I do, but it plays on your mind because you think it's those migraine drugs, and that's what you think it is.
And it could just be the migraine itself. So there was a really big study in France that found, that found there is a very strong link between unmanaged migraine in midlife and dementia later in life, particularly Alzheimer's. So there is actually damage being done to our brain from not managing these attacks. It's just that we haven't, like many things, haven't properly recorded, investigated, what it is exactly that endless migraine attacks is doing to our brain.
I also feel that it's not just the drugs. I think people that struggle with migraine constantly, you get so befuddled in the end. You get the aura, you get the tingling down the face and down the nose and the tightness of the throat. I do anyway, or used to. It's hard to struggle just to function during some days. So yes. It's amazing that you can remember how to put one foot in front of the other sometimes when you're struggling day after day. It's not surprising that we all struggle with migraine.
Indeed. Kelly, tell us about your experience of going on to Emgality, because I know you've tried everything before you got there.
I have. So I went and saw a neurologist about, probably 2 years ago now, for the first time ever. So he put me on propranolol. So that was interesting. Had some really weird side effects from that, constant headaches, that sort of thing. Kind of went off it because it didn't seem to be working. Went to my GP, who had a list of drugs that I could try. Tried Topamax for 3 days. That really did not agree with me. Back on the propranolol. Eventually went back to see the neurologist because that new 2 doctors thing that's going on. And he went, oh, good, the propranolol is doing something if you have a constant headache. Congratulations on your migraine now being chronic.
Right. Great.
And I was like, thanks. Can I try Emgality now? He was still a bit hesitant. So sort of just stuck with the propranolol. He wanted to increase the dose of that for a while. So me and my GP worked on that, but my heart rate got a little bit low. So we sort of halted that and I was very tired. So she arranged for me to go on to Emgality after emailing back and forth with my GP. So I eventually got on Emgality. The first day I had it, I got a migraine that night. But it was gone in 24 hours. So
big improvement.
And how often did you get migraines before you took the first Emgality?
Pretty regularly, but it wasn't until after I'd had the Emgality that I realized I was probably having 31 out of 31 migraine days a month. They weren't all what we refer to as headache days, but I was definitely being impacted pretty much every single day. So even my husband, he's like, yep, this is great. Amazing. A few weeks ago, I applied for a job. So,
which is so awesome, right? To be able to go back to work.
Didn't get an interview in the end, but you know, the fact that I felt comfortable enough applying for work says a lot, I think. And every month is getting better. I mean, my Emgality is due tomorrow. And I'm not incoherent, so it's good because it does have that kind of lag where it wears off a bit. But I'm fine today, so you know that is as well as remarkable.
I want to go back to something you said there about recognizing once you started on Emgality how many days were migraine affected, because I think a lot of us that have had success with the CGRPs have also kind of had a bit of a shock realization of how crap our average was. And when we do things, and this is kind of one of the reasons why Migraine Australia took a very strong position against this artificial definition of chronic migraine in terms of which of the drugs would be available in the PBS and who they'll be available for, this arbitrary line of 15 headache days a month is actually useless because it depends who you're talking to, how you actually count your migraine days. So some people count migraine days being all days affected by migraine, and other people only count headache days, and other people only count really bad days. They don't count the prodrome or the postdrome days. And it's a useless measurement anyway. It doesn't mean anything. Somebody can have a relatively mild headache for 15, 16 days, and somebody can have completely debilitating, need to be hospitalized migraine one day a month. Which one of those are you going to tell us is more in need of prevention? So I just want you to kind of talk a little bit more about that and how you recognized that actually all of those other days where you thought you weren't having a migraine day, what kind of those low level symptoms did you realize after they'd gone away?
A lot of brain fog, that's
Yeah.
for sure. I was less grumpy, less tired, can string words together better now. And I mean, that's saying a lot considering I have 3 university degrees. So it did get pretty bad. But I mean, sort of, I've always just worked through my migraines. Like, I'm one of those people that used to go to work with a migraine. I was very lucky. I worked in a library, so it was generally quiet most of the time. But you know, there were days that they'd look at me and just say, "Go home." You know, so I think the fact that I was so used to working through them, these other days where I was tired or I had a bit of brain fog, you know, I might have had like some aura coming on, like a stiff neck or whatever, I'd just ignore it. So yeah, it wasn't until all of that sort of went away and I went, whoa, hang on, I feel really different to what I felt for a very, very long time.
I think the thing that's been really interesting for me is how these other symptoms that I thought went migraine were. So for example, I used to have this recurrent abdominal pain. And I, you know, a bit like Bronwyn, I've been through the investigations, I've had, you know, surgeries and, you know, ultrasounds and all kinds of things trying to figure out, is it endo? Is there something else there? Is it wrong? Is it an ovarian something? And there's nothing there. It's just this constant, you know, pain. And I went on Aimovig and it went away. Like it just disappeared exactly the same way as my migraine attacks disappeared. So I think it's really, I think what's going to happen, right? Once we stop fighting about whether or not we can have these drugs and they can be on the PBS, and I'll take a breath before I go into that in any kind of detail. I think one of the things that's going to happen once we start using these drugs in kind of big numbers, and is already happening in the States, obviously, is that we're going to reach a point where we actually understand what migraine is much better than we currently do. And all of the possible symptoms that can be in, you know, part of migraine.
Yeah, well, you and I actually had a discussion about that because I was telling you that I had started taking that Emgality and I wasn't as stiff when I woke up in the morning. My hips had been stiff and I started taking Emgality and it's completely gone away.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, you're kind of like, what do my hips have to do with this? But you know, I think those stories are going to be more and more interesting. Lol, do you have any bizarre symptoms or anything that might have disappeared when you started taking Emgality? Not that you can think of.
All my life I've always had this up the neck, down the shoulders, tightness of the jaw, down the throat until you start to gag type thing. All that's gone, but that was the classic, what I call my migraine coming. And as soon as I start to feel it come up here, and when it got to the top of the throat, I'd rush for the bucket and go to the bathroom because I knew that it had gone past the point of no return. Or I'd call the paramedics for an injection to stop me vomiting type thing. I've always got the antiemetics in the fridge, but sometimes you leave it too late because you keep thinking, oh, it'll go away in a minute, it'll go away in a minute, because it doesn't.
Yeah, and then you can't swallow.
It's just, I just feel like a new person. I've got my life back. But I do have triggers, and I think it's an ongoing thing all the time. Even at my age now, I'm still learning that things tick me off. My neurologist said to me a couple of months ago on the phone, do me a favour, he said, just knock the citrus on the head for a few months and just see what happens. I said, where'd that come from? He said, never mind, just do me a favour and just leave the citrus alone. So I've done that. And I suppose they have got better, I don't know. But I'm doing what he's telling me. Leave the citrus. Well, cheese is the big no-no for me. I just cannot eat cheese at all. I eat cheese on something and I struggle for 3 days. So it's always a learning curve. Chocolate doesn't affect me, which is weird. I've never drunk, so I wouldn't even go there. But preservatives. I'm a vegetarian and I don't eat things out of packets and tins. So I make my own. And I think if I do eat something out, I'm really sorry the next day. But it's just a learning curve constantly.
Yeah. Sorry, Kelly, you were going to say?
I was saying I don't eat any citrus. I find if I have too much citrus, it triggers an attack. But I have weird triggers like white chocolate, but not dark chocolate. And even taking Emgality, I had a cookie that had white chocolate in it the next day.
Look, the important point is that you can have chocolate of some kind.
Only dark chocolate, and not all dark chocolate. It's very weird.
We all need our indulgences, don't we?
Oh yeah, but there's also part of the migraine cycle where you do crave, a lot of people crave chocolate. It's one of the reasons why they thought it was a trigger for a really long time, is because a lot of people would have chocolate, right? And when you're doing stuff by diary, it's like, oh, well, all these people ate chocolate and then they got a migraine attack. So, the chocolate must be the trigger. We now know actually it's a symptom, so your body needs the sugar, and the wonderful other things that come in chocolate, those kind of calming type, what's the word I'm looking for? Endorphins and stuff that you get from eating chocolate. Loal, what's your advice you want to give to people who are thinking about trialing Emgality?
Embrace it. It doesn't hurt to try it. I think, having been down every road and every avenue and every drug that's out there, at the end of the day, you'll try anything to get rid of migraine. And to get your life back, it's worth giving it a try. If you get your neurologist to give you 3 months trial. And I will say, looking back now, and I keep a migraine diary here, and I've been on 18 months on some kind of injection altogether. Looking back on the diary, I can honestly say it takes time. So I think we're all different, as you said in the beginning. It's a different journey for everybody. So when I think it was Kelly said she took the first one, had a migraine the first night, and then after that she'd felt better. It was not like that for me. I think it was 5 or 6 months before I felt a rapid change. And now I can look back and say it was probably a year for me before I felt that every single day I felt better. And now I've probably had 6 months migraine free or more. So I think everybody's different, and I don't think everybody should expect to take the injection and expect a cure tomorrow.
That's a very valid point. Kelly, what's your advice to somebody thinking about trying Emgality?
I'd probably say the same as Loal. Give it a go. It's been very effective. I am one of the lucky people that did have good success straight up, but then that may also make me one of the unlucky people that loses effectiveness around the 6 month mark. So we'll just have to
Don't you tempt it, woman.
But yeah, give it a go, and hopefully Emgality will be on the PBS soon. But I mean, for me, I won't stop taking it. Even if we couldn't afford it, I'd find a way to afford it. Like, it's just, it has been remarkable. So after 25 years or something of migraine attacks, to have them be less often, less severe, shorter duration for the ones that I do get. And then those other days, like I said, I would not have said that I was affected that much at all. Like, that's like 100% of the time being affected.
What price, quality of life?
That's right. So yeah, I would say just give it a go. If you're hesitant, take it for a couple of months. But, I've seen more people say it's taken 5 or 6 months, like Loal said, to get the full effect. So.
Alrighty. Thank you all, and thank you, I think, especially to the guest appearances of both my dog and Loal's dog. That makes it a perfect Migraine Australia meetup.
Did you see her in the back?
Gorgeous puppy that you have there. Thank you all very much, and happy Migraine.
Thank you. Wish you all the best, girls.
You too.
Thank you.